Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about why leftist trolls are literally the dumbest people alive and are so fucking retarded that they clearly don't know their ass from their elbow. That's what it is. So, had an interaction with some douche on Twitter earlier because, or not Twitter, sorry, Reddit, because it was on the white people Twitter subreddit, is what it was. And so, yeah, you have these dumbasses that are so fucking illiterate, or so fucking just nonsensical jackasses, is what it is. They don't even understand, like, the basics of coherency is what it is in this country, honestly, dude. Basic education, anything like that. Which, by the way, for those interested in what the actual tweet was about, it was basically Trump talking about finally getting rid of the Department of Education, who became president again, is what it is. The thing is, you look at the Department of Education entirely, it's only existed since 1979. Like, it was literally created back in 1979, 6 years before I was born. So, you know, pretty much has only existed for the entirety of my life, my brother's life, etc. Didn't exist before then, is what it is. And it shouldn't have existed ever, is what it is, dude. Because, again, like, with most things in government, when you give government the power to do something, they're always going to fuck it up. They're always going to take way more freedoms, way more liberties away from people, and indoctrinate is what it is, you know? And basically enshrine shit as like, oh no, this is like how it is, basically, and not give you the option of like, no, there could be a different thing here entirely, is what it is, or a different way of doing something, is what it is. And so, you know, rightfully I called him out for being communist indoctrinators on the left there, is what it is. And you had this dumbass talking about code words and shit like that, is what it was. And it's like, not everything is a goddamn dog whistle or a fucking code word, you fucking retarded leftist pieces of shit. It's literally what it sounds like. Communist indoctrinator. Someone who is spreading communism to fucking children. Someone who is spreading the bullshit trans ideology, indoctrination, etc. in our school systems right now. Which, by the way, the fact that people on the right, parents on the right and the center at this point, have not sued the fuck out of public education for literally having the breaking of separation of church and state throughout every single public school in this country right now, when you have these woke ass fucking piece of shit teachers, these indoctrinators, if you will sit there and literally put up progressive pride flags that are nothing more than pedo pride flags, and then fucking BLM flags next to it usually is what it is, dude. Like, how the fuck is that not a violation of separation of church and state when you literally have the leftists having their bullshit cults like that, and them literally looking at fucking LGBTQRI play, what the fuck you want to call it, point, quote bag bullshit, and then BLM as their literal fucking religions at this point, dude. Because that's what they are at the end of the day. And the fact that any school system in this country is allowing a so-called educator that works for it to put up shit like that in a classroom and not be fired on the fucking spot is exactly what's wrong with this nation right now, dude. Exactly why we're in such a fucking mess right now. Exactly why you have these kids, whether it be at LeBron James I Promise School or whether it be in over 20 schools in Maryland, et cetera, that can't even pass basic... sorry. Mike Tyson moment. They can't even pass basic literacy when it comes to either reading or mathematics, for that matter. They can't pass state testing. They're literally, you know, grade upon grade upon grade lower than they should be at this point, where you have 8th graders that can't even read at like a 3rd or 4th grade level, for that matter, etc., etc. And that's the biggest problem right now, you know? And then you got these dumbass trolls all over these social media sites that, you know, they'll sit there and respond to your comment or your statement, whatever it's going to be. Which, by the way, this is the real problem I have with social media sites in general, especially places like Reddit and stuff like that. There should be a way to just make something as a statement that can't be responded to. It can't be, you know, a reply to it is what it is then, because the whole point is it's not a comment I'm trying to make, it's trying to make a statement is what it is, you know, and that's the problem right there. And to have some dumbass like try to fucking come back at me or whatever the case be. And then what's even worse is obviously with Reddit, you know, like I've said with the targeted downvoting and stuff like that. So, you know, when you call them out for this shit, what do? They censor you on these sites by literally downvoting your post to oblivion is what it is, you know, -10, -20 karma, whatever it is there, -30 karma, whatever, however much karma it really takes, -1, beyond -1. To basically censor you is what it is. And that's exactly why, honestly, social media sites like that should be able to be sued in the ground right now for censorship is what it is. for censorship of the right people on this one. Because it's literally anybody that's not, left of fucking center is never going to have their voice heard. Anybody that's not going with the fucking grain of the fucking leftist woke indoctrination fucking trash garbage bullshit, the fucking Megan Rapinoe types of our society, they're never going to have their voices heard is what it is. Which, by the way, that fucking stupid cunt cost the U.S. women's soccer team recently. Literally did the worst fucking penalty kick ever that cost them the fucking match there is what it was versus Sweden here. Which, honestly, I could give a fuck less about women's soccer because, again, it's fucking retarded is what it is, dude. It's one of the... Actually, truthfully, soccer in general is one of the dumbest sports ever created is what it is. So... Or at least the most boring anyway to watch. I mean, to play it, it's not bad, but, like, honestly, to watch it, it's just fucking boring as shit, dude, because it's either going to be a 1-0 or it's going to be like a 2-1 or a 1-1 or something like that kind of scores is what it is. And it's literally just jackasses on both sides just kicking a fucking ball across a field for hours at a time is what it is. It's just as bad as, it's almost just as bad as watching golf. Like, I would say, honestly, soccer and golf are the two most boring sports to watch in this entire country right now. So, now granted, playing golf can be fun. Playing soccer can be fun. But again, if you're doing that, it's fun. If you're watching it, it's not. Which that's why I think it's kind of crazy when you look at all these people that are like the quote-unquote like soccer hooligans of, the various European nations and stuff like that, whether it be like London or Britain or England or whatever the case be. Like, it just kind of boggles my mind, honestly, about those people. Like, really, dude? Like, that's what you're going to be into? But then again, on the same vein of things, you have, you could basically say the opposite side of that with American eyes stuff. And you have, obviously, the United States version of quote-unquote football is what they call soccer over in those countries there. But you have actual football here in the States, NFL, etc. there. And you got people that'll sit there and do fantasy football and stuff like that based on this shit and just basically live their lives based on random athletes, which it boggles my mind, honestly, on that one too, man. Like, the fact that you're letting your identity as a human being be dictated by some fucking dumbass pro athlete, like, bro, you got some serious fucking issues is what it is. And it's the same thing with these leftists, honestly, that'll sit there and, keep pushing the indoctrination in these school systems, keep dumbing down society to idiocracy levels at this point. And really truthfully, like, it ain't going to be no 300, 500 years in the future right now that idiocracy takes place, dude. It's going to be like 3 to 5 years from now, honestly, because we are already seeing the beginning stages of it right now. I was watching this video, it was yesterday, where you had this chick. She was in some Whole Foods, and apparently, I guess, I don't know exactly which state this was in, but they were basically introducing that bullshit where you can now pay with your palm and stuff like that. So it's biometrics being introduced, like Demolition Man style, that are 100% not cool at all and should never be implemented, because then it's going to, just one step closer to the Chinese social credit scores in this country, honestly, would be then. And yeah, you have her basically being like, oh my God, I can pay with my hand? Oh, it's so amazing. That you're a fucking dunce? Yes, it is. It is amazing. That you still have voting rights at the age that you are right now, and you're that retarded to sit there and embrace the biometric bullshit and AI technology. Yes, it is truly amazing. So, I don't know, man. I fear for the future at this point. I really do. Like, every day I wake up and it's just like, can we just start the purge already and be done with it? Like, seriously. Like, that's the way I feel anymore, dude. It's like, especially over the issue 1 shit here in Ohio. Like, it's just like, because obviously today was the final day of early voting and stuff like that, and you got a bunch of dumbasses showing up in Franklin County there to vote early. But of course, knowing the left, they'll wait until the last fucking possible minute is what it is. So what do? They sit there and they get in a line that then becomes a bigger line, and then eventually it's 5 o'clock, and they're like, okay, sorry, line's capped right here is what it is then. And you still have all these other idiots that are in the line right there that can still vote is what it is. And instead of being told, like, nah, dude, come back on Tuesday to your regular polling place, go vote then. Seriously. So, who knows how many of those people are, going to vote no, and who knows how many are going to vote yes. I'm assuming it's going to be mostly no votes down there because it's fucking Columbus. And of course, the PBS local affiliate down there was the video they did for it that was on Twitter there that I was talking about there with Islamic terrorism in our state house right now. Yeah, what's the first second of the fucking video? Some dumb bitch in a fucking hijab, dude. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, seriously, was 9/11 not a fucking catalyst in this country, dude, to be like, fuck Islam forever? Instead, it's like, no, let's have every asshole in the fucking book and across the block and everything else like that import these fucking trash into our country now again, dude, after the fact. I swear to God, our founding fathers are spinning in their fucking graves right now, especially Thomas Jefferson for that matter, because he even understood that Islam was a fucking cult and that it needed to be banned by name in this country, honestly, dude. It's why you have a copy. It's why you have that historical copy of the Quran that bitch Ilhan Omar took a fucking sworn oath to the with the U.S. Constitution, which in and of itself should have disqualified her on the spot on that one. Not to mention the fact that her being a fucking foreign national should have also disqualified her from even holding office in this country. And that's probably my biggest problem with politics right now in general, is you have so many people who are not American. They are not American. They never will be American. They hate this country. They hate white people in general. And they want to sit there and talk shit about, Americans and white people, etc. there, and not have their asses thrown out and permanently exiled from this country, honestly. Which is exactly what should have happened to Omar's ass. Exactly what should happen to many of these fucking motherfuckers, dude. And yeah, it's a bunch of people who, if they were able to take over this nation, would turn us into an Islamic terrorist state, is what it is, dude. You would have us being under Sharia law, which is literally what The Handmaid's Tale is really about. And we'd be fucked as a nation, is what it is, man. But yet you continue to have these fucking woke dipshits that don't understand that public education is nothing more than public indoctrination anymore. Which, for those that don't know, obviously look up textbook definitions while I was talking about communist indoctrination and stuff like that. So, first of all, textbook definition of communism, which is, go over here, a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Yeah, aka why, when it's actually implemented, everybody dies, by the way, underneath that shit, dude. It's why you have dictators and those communist nations that create that shit. Just, by the way, you look at, actually a great example of that right now would be communist China. When you had the one-child policy back in the early 2000s there in place, up until, like, I think it was Bush's second term or something like that, or pretty close to Bush's second term. And they realized that they were basically dying as a country because they kept having this one-child policy. And you would, by the way, you literally have parents that would have a daughter first, and they would chuck newborn baby girls off fucking bridges and shit because they wanted to have a boy to keep their legacy going, is what it was, keep their name, etc. there going in the future. And so they would off children, and then they all had a bunch of boys after that fact, eventually. And meanwhile, now they have to implement literal fucking chicks from South Korea and other countries like that, Taiwan, etc. there, to China, just to be able to have kids again, because they have so many dudes and not enough chicks is what it is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was either reading or I was listening to something here a few weeks ago, and it was talking about how dudes in China outnumber chicks, like, I think it's like 50-1 or something crazy like that, or pretty close to that, maybe 45-1, somewhere in there. Anyway, but yeah, it's like really high numbers, honestly. And it makes sense, honestly, again, going back to one-child policy stuff. When you had, you only have one kid, and you would just, kill your firstborn daughter, basically, and then have a son after that, and be like, nope, this is our firstborn now. And that's going to be the legacy for your family and stuff like that. And then, of course, China being a communist nation at the time, they were collapsing as a country. And then it wasn't until they went full capitalism after that and started having a bunch of kids and exploiting their population and stuff like that, that they eventually came back as a world power now. And honestly, the worst thing America ever did was allow our outsourcing of our businesses, of our manufacturing, etc., to go over that fucking country. And it was under that piece of shit Bush that happened, honestly, when he had the stupid ass, I'm trying to think what the exact thing that he created there was. It was basically like world market manufacturing, I think is what it was called. That's not exactly what it was called, but it was basically something along those lines, where it was basically allowing our jobs to ship overseas and stuff like that and fuck over the American people then. Because instead of innovating here, instead of actually having our stuff manufactured here and having good jobs remain on U.S. soil. No, you ship them over to fucking China. You undercut our dollar. You literally have us buy all of our shit from overseas then, which, by the way, is a bunch of plastic-made junk in most cases, just like this fan I have right here, where instead of it having a metal insert to where it can actually screw properly together, it's all plastic, and if you actually overscrew the threads, they'll just break, is what it is, which is what happened here. I literally had to put electrical tape around this fucking fan right now, and every so often it'll come off its track, and I have to push it back on there, retape the motherfucker down, the fan blade to the spot there is what it is, and then twist it back into place basically properly, and then turn it on, and it'll actually work again. And I shouldn't have to do that, honestly. It's a bunch of shit, dude, entirely. And again, it wouldn't have to be an issue if you actually had, like, proper things put in place to begin with, and it wasn't some bullshit fucking cutting corners Chinese-made garbage is what it is, dude. So, anyway. And this is what the left embraces, by the way. It's the same thing with open border policies, for that matter, too. They love to fucking push that shit down our goddamn throats. And then they wonder why every single major city in this country is a goddamn hellhole right now. All run by Democrats, by the way. So, I don't know. I'm just getting real fucking sick of it, man. I really am. I was talking to my brother actually today because he and my niece were here, obviously, and we were discussing because you had the lie of the one attack ad about issue 1 passing would end minority rule in Ohio, and it's like, no, it would end mob rule of the left at this point, you idiots. And I love how that one person, one vote campaign, which is all Bloomberg paid, by the way, and Soros paid for that matter too. It's all literally billionaires that make up Bilderberg that paid for that shit. They are pushing it as if it's basically somebody taking a pair of scissors of the Constitution, being supposedly right-wing in this state is what it is there. Which in reality, the only people taking a pair of scissors to our Constitution are you fucking cocksuckers, because you're trying to literally destroy Article 1, Section 4 that grants us the right to keep and bear arms in the state if issue 1 doesn't pass. And then meanwhile, you're trying to enshrine abortion, child sterilization, child murder on demand, and a bunch of other shit without parental consent come November, if you still have the 50% plus 1 vote is what it is. And I look for there to be a lot of lawsuits over this whole thing, honestly, pretty soon is what it is, dude. Like, I'm serious. And I told my mom today, I was like, I'm seriously at the point right now, if I can figure out a way to sue these fuckers behind the 1 person, 1 vote attack ads, dude, I'm going to do it, honestly, because I'm so fucking sick and tired of their shit at this point, dude. Their continuous lies, their continuous fucking tens of millions of dollars in fucking ad buys that are all paid for by Bloomberg and Soros, et cetera, there. And it's like, seriously, how are they even allowed to run this shit when it's, number one, obviously deception and lies is what it is, dude. Like, you're completely trying to deceive the American people is what it is here in the city of Ohio. So they'll vote no on your fucking, for your bullshit is what it is, so you can keep your fucking simple majority is what it is there. And mob rule is what it really is at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm just sick and tired of it, man. And then they want to sit there and lie about it being bipartisan. It's like, it's not bipartisan. It's literally 3 asshole leftists. One of these fucking cunts worked for a damn Democrat party, like the actual Democrat Party of Ohio. They worked for like a decade as like the second person in charge, basically, to get people elected here is what it was for Democrats. And then the other 2 assholes are fucking basically Soros green hat lawyers that fucking bail funding Antifa all the time is what it is. So, or the equivalent of that essentially would be then. For various, quote unquote, like nonprofits is what they want to claim, but they're not nonprofit at all, dude. They're seriously Soros shell companies is what they really are. Just like the fucking ACLU is a Soros shell company at this point because he's all, dirty fingers and fucking Nazi collaborator hands and that shit is what it is, dude. I've talked about it before on this channel, obviously. You can look up that story, the 60 Minutes interview with Soros from like about a decade and a half ago, give or take, where he admits to basically sending a bunch of people off to their deaths and death camps during Nazi Germany so he could steal their wealth and their family farms and stuff like that to amass his own fortune. It's pretty disgusting shit, honestly, dude. And the main reason that Soros should have been literally put to trial like 70 years ago, more or less, during the Nuremberg trials at the time, during the 1940s and stuff like that, and should have basically been given the death penalty back then. So, and the fact that he wasn't is everything wrong with this country currently, honestly. So anyway, I really just wish American politicians at this point would grow some balls and just put out international arrest warrants for Soros and the rest of these fuckers make a Bilderberg, honestly, dude. Because you actively have these people trying to destroy our constitutional republic from the inside out in every single state they can with all kinds of shit that we eventually will beat them in court battles, you know, especially if it's like attacks on the Second Amendment and stuff like that. We'll eventually beat them in the court battles is what it is because of great things like the Bruin decision and Heller and et cetera there. The problem is we shouldn't have to take a decade of our lives to do that shit. We should be able to kick their asses right fucking here and now is what it is and just put them in jail where they belong, awaiting trial for various crimes they committed is what it is then. So, anyway. But yeah, I'm just fucking over all of it, really. I've just had it with everybody, honestly, at this point, man. And this is the problem with people on the left. They will never actually debate you. They'll never actually say shit like they're going to say on the internet anonymously to your actual face if you ever confronted them and stuff, because they're pussies, dude. They're fucking cowards. They're literal fucking sacks of shit hiding behind a keyboard fucking warriors, legitimately, that have never been in a real fight in their lives because they know if they were, they get their asses beat in the fucking streets right now. And that's why you have these little fucking sacks of shit like the Antifa who will sit there and attack like a pack of jackals where it's like 20 people on one, but it just happens to be that one person's an elderly old woman or a young kid or something like that, because they know if they fought real men, they get their asses fucking stomped in the fucking ground, honestly. Which we've seen time and again, by the way. Like that one famous video where you had, I think it was some Proud Boys guys or whatever, finally had enough of their shit or whatever. And you had the one guy basically trying to square up with one of the Proud Boy dudes. And the dude, like, I forget if he ducked his punch or he just like caught his punch and then just fucking whoosh and nailed this motherfucker and just sent his glasses flying into basically outer space is what it was there. And that's what happened so many times, honestly, dude. And then eventually that, you know, dude got basically knocked out with like one punch, was on the ground, and then some other chick like ran up in there and was like punched him again or something like that while he was on the ground. Like trying to do like some cowboy riding or something, basically. It's pretty funny. But yeah. And honestly, that's what we need more of in this country, is mutual combat like that. Which leads me to something I was talking about here recently. And something that will happen if issue 1 doesn't pass here on this coming Tuesday, which is this coming Wednesday. I will begin work on introducing legislation for a potential constitutional amendment to the Ohio Constitution that would allow Ohio to become a mutual combat state. Because it really is time to just start beating some ass, honestly, at this point, for real. And having people agree to fights. Because I think that's what a lot of us need right now. We just need to release some frustration and some aggression, is what it is. And the best way to do that is have a mutual combat law on the books and be like, hey, you want to fucking go at it, bitch? Meet me here at this time, and we'll fucking go at it. You know, fight me. And they can agree to the fight. Both parties agree to a fight, and we can just fight it out is what it is then. One person wins, one person loses. You know? And we'll be better off for it at the end of the day. And I think that's the problem with the left in most cases, though. Again, going back to the cowardiceness, the pussiness, etc. there. They don't want to actually fight you for real because they know they lose in many cases. And the thing is, you know, me personally, my health isn't that great, dude. Do I think I'd actually win every single fight I'd have with these people? Probably not. That being said, it's not that I'm not willing to fight them is what it is. You know? And that's the big thing, man. Like, again, I'm just ready to go anymore, man. Like, I've just had it. And I think I'm not the only one out there that's had it, honestly. I think there's a lot of people I've talked to recently in the last few weeks here is what it is, specifically at a state level over issue 1 and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of people I have talked to out of state about different topics and stuff like that relating to possibility of a second civil war in this country or a balkanization event or whatever the case be. And yeah, they're all like, yeah, let's fucking do this already, dude. Let's get it done with already. And just have it out finally once and for all. And I think that's the problem right now, is that you have shit being delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed just long enough to where we would calm down, and then eventually we get raged out again by some unconstitutional bullshit going on at a federal level or state level, whatever the case be there. And then eventually it's, you know, something happens and it's sort of, you know, try to bring it back to like a balance essentially. And they just keep doing that. And it's Like, when is enough, honestly, dude? And like I said, any given day, I'm just waiting to wake up one day, and it's either, air raid sirens going off, it's some fucking purge event being, announced, welcome to the commencement of the annual purge, or something like that kind of thing, or something, or something like, just get up, have a normal day, go, get up, do my normal routine, go to the bathroom, wash my hands, put on my pants, go out to the living room and stuff like that, flip on the TV, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're actually at World War III now, or something like that. Because I feel like that's coming very soon too, for that matter, because I mean, hell, you had apparently both Russian and Chinese ships be spotted off the coast of Alaska now. And it's like, dude, you want to talk about escalation, where you literally had to have American destroyers dispatched to possibly take these fuckers out? Like, that is some serious escalation, dude, coming in to our fucking waters and shit off the coast of one of our states. Like, not cool, bro. Not cool at all, man. Like, they're definitely trying to start some shit right now, I think, honestly, dude. And like I said, honestly, the best thing we could have done, it should have been 20, 25 years ago, when you had us just take China the fuck out when they had the one-child policy in place, when they weren't a superpower, and sort of the same thing with Russia back then, too, as well. Deal with them accordingly back then, when they didn't have the fucking power that they have. It would have been way less nukes back then, etc., and we could have dealt with them back then, honestly. But no, you have dumbass administration not dealing with this shit. And then you got Trump getting into office. He was actually trying to deal with some of that stuff. He was at least very bare minimum de-escalating the situation is what it was there, man. I mean, hell, like the first president in my lifetime that I can remember that never started a new war in our country. Like, that's a sad fact, right? Is that the best accomplishment this man can be given is that he started no new wars of our nation with other nations, but at the same time also de-escalate a lot of the shit to the point where you then have people be able to have peace treaties in the Middle East and stuff like that. Like, that's what's crazy. And I think maybe that's what it is, dude. It's the globalists that want this fucking forever wars and stuff like that, because you look at it, you look at how, like, who's made money since 9/11 there? Who's made money since we've, gone overseas and had this, 20-year battle with Afghanistan, all these other countries over there in the Middle East? Oh, yeah, that's right. The fucking Rothschild family, the number one family of the Bilderberg Group. Every single country that the United States military has invaded since 9/11 now has a Rothschild central bank in it. They never did before they were invaded. But yet now Jacob Rothschild and his fucking sick-ass relatives are now even higher, more wealthy financially, etc. there, and have basically scumbagged Americans and America for decades now to have us be their own personal military, basically. And what's even worse is then you have these people that'll sit there and be like, well, I'm a military vet and I'm going to vote no on issue 1 in Ohio now. You are the dumbest motherfucker alive then, dude. Seriously. You are the fucking principal piece of shit that I've been talking about this whole time, which I've talked about this before, honestly, the whole, the I'm a military vet thing. Like, congrats, bro. You became one of millions of people that ever served in the U.S. military is what it is. Just because you happen to do so doesn't make you a fucking special, doesn't make you a special snowflake, dog. In most cases, it just means you fucking bought into the bullshit and signed up is what it was. And the worst ones, the biggest oathbreakers I've actually seen in our government, honestly, are some of the people that will sit there and claim, I'm a military vet, and that's why I should be elected to some random-ass Congress seat or some random-ass state rep seat or whatever it is, dude. It's like, no, you should be the last person in that fucking seat of power because you're going to be the biggest oath-breaking sack of shit if you were to be elected in there. And I've seen it time and again, honestly. In a lot of cases, it's usually with the Democrat Party that does that shit, honestly, dude. They'll sit there and be like, well, I'm a military vet, but I believe in gun control and abortion and women's right to choose and all this other stupid bullshit is what it is, really. And it's like, no, dude, you are a tired-ass, dumb fucking idiot who has no actual real platform to run on, so you're going to run on some bullshit narrative that people will support a U.S. military vet for some position of power, when in reality, some of the shit you've already done overseas should have disqualified you on the spot under various war crimes. So, anyway. And for that, I mean the ones that were like combat vets that did like all kinds of very shady shit to potential criminal shit, honestly, if they were like doing mercenary work and stuff like that, would be there. Or even in some cases under the flag of the U.S. government, U.S. military, and stuff like that. You know, the same flag I'm literally in front of right now, honestly. You know, that's why you have people having like friendly fire hits and stuff like that over there and stuff, and it's because sometimes they just kill their own, is what it is, man. And don't even get me started on the whole, I think it's blue on green is what they called them all the time over there in the Middle East there and shit. It's because you had all the fucking Afghanis and stuff like that were given, you know, handouts and weaponry and stuff like that to basically be essentially auxiliary soldiers to the military units that were over there. And yet, meanwhile, they would just turn on us all the time, as it would be then. And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't they, dude? Because, of course, you know, you've invaded their nation, for God's sakes. You're trying to fuck with their, you know, way of life. It would be the same thing if China came over here and tried to take us over and stuff. Do you really think Americans wouldn't, you know, falsely be like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to collaborate with y'all, and then just blast the whole fucking unit of Chinese communists back to fucking, you know, hell, basically, at that point? Of course they would, dude. And that's the thing, you'd have infiltrators like that all the time, is what it would be, man. So, anyway. If you've never seen it, there's a great movie, actually, that Alex Jones was part of years ago. It was called Amerigeddon. It was quite a low-budget film, actually, because I think he actually helped partially fund it, is what it was there, using the InfoWars profits and stuff. But it was actually a decent film, though. Like, even though it was really low budget and stuff like that, it was still a good storyline overall. And it showed exactly what would happen in our country if you had basically Chinese takeovers, what it would be then. And in a lot of cases, it would be our own, you know, higher military brass selling us out to the fucking Chi-Coms and shit. And the UN, you know, blue helmets and shit like that would be there. So, anyway, I don't know anymore, man. Like I said, I'm just sick and tired of all of it. Sick and tired of the left. Sick and tired of the fucking leftist bullshit. Sick and tired of the fucking establishment Republican shit as well, for that matter. Just sick of all of it, dude. Honestly, if it was up to me right now, I would just say tear it all down, every single government, federal and state at this point, and rebuild brand new with way, way fewer people in them as it would be then. And have it be more constitutional based and everything else like that, including automatic qualification for every seat of power in this country. So, anyway. And of course, you would at the same time be getting rid of a fuck ton of alphabet agencies that have no legal authority to be existing, really, is what it is, or unelected bureaucrats and stuff like that. So, anyways. I'll probably talk more about this later on tonight, actually, because I'm assuming that Honda will be doing his Sunday chat here in a few hours. And, yeah, I'll be on that later with him and the boys, and just discussing how I'm fucking over all of it, is what it is, man. Because I really am, honestly, at the end of the day. Like, I've just had it, honestly. And I think most Americans have at this point, too, honestly. Which, we have every right to be pissed off right now. Because we've literally been fucked with our entire lives, is what it is, dude. You know, it's like, and again, it goes back to what I said on this channel before, you know, the whole, you know, beaten dog kind of systematically ingrained kind of mindset, where it's basically, you know, oh, you know, you've been beat by previous owners before, whatever the case be. You think anytime a human raises up their hand, or whatever the case be, they're going to smack you again, kind of thing. And so you just basically cower in fear and stuff like that, just waiting for it to happen. And that's why, as much as I like people like Vivek Ramaswamy and stuff like that, I think he's saying a lot of good things, honestly, right now. It's just hard to trust, man. Because, you know, I and everyone else here have been screwed so many times in the past. It's like, yeah, do we really trust you on, you know, face value? Or is it even deeper than that, where, okay, you know, you sue the World Economic Forum trying to claim that you weren't part of it or whatever the case be, but how much of a 4D chess move would that actually be? It's like, oh yeah, I'm totally not part of you guys, so I'm going to sue all your asses, but in reality, you're still part of them, is what it would actually be then. And it's like, yeah, to me, that would basically be like a logical thing. Like, oh, you're not part of them? Oh, I'm going to sue them. But in reality, it's basically that 4D, 5D chess move is what it would be then, where it would be, this one move or whatever would push you in a better position with the American people and make them think that, like, oh, yeah, you're totally, for American populace or whatever the case be, but in reality, you're still in their fucking back pocket is what it is there. And you're simply suing them to make it look good, as a front to you being installed as what it would be then. So I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was, honestly. And that's why, again, I'm kind of like fearful of, like, as much as I want to endorse this guy, as much as I want to back him and stuff, like, is he actually just a fucking Trojan horse? It just really, it's just infuriating, honestly, dude. It's like, it'd be nice to just be able to take people at their word again. But I think that will never happen until we actually have it out again in this country as, a second civil war, a second revolution, something. So until that would happen, I think we're just, going to sit there and basically be fucked over continuously the rest of our lives. It'll be then. I don't know. I really don't look forward to seeing what happens in the next year to year and a half in this country, honestly, because I think we're definitely in a bad position right now. And I think it's going to get much, much worse the farther we go towards 2024 and into the actual presidential primaries and stuff like that right now. But anyway, my best advice to anybody out there right now, honestly, is be armed. If you can legally be armed, dude. Because if you're not armed and shit falls in this country very quickly, and when I say it's going to fall very quickly, I mean legitimately it could go from we're a functioning nation to a half hour later we're in complete chaos, basically. If you're not physically armed with a firearm or some kind at that point, you are going to be the person that is taken advantage of by people who are heavily armed. You're going to be the guy that's basically, turned into a slave, a servant, whatever the case be, to someone else, or potentially be their next meal, even for that matter, because that's another thing, as crazy as people want to talk about, dude, there are so many people in these major cities without any kind of skill set at all, man, that I give it a few days, honestly, to maybe a week before these people would go full cannibal on each other would be there. And, God forbid, like, you're just trying to survive, and now you're, a meal for some fucked up cannibal people is what it is there. So, anyway. Not a fun day. Not a fun day for anyone that would be having that happen to them, man. So, yeah, definitely be armed and be ready to get the fuck out of cities is what it is if you live there. Unless, of course, you're some douchebag leftist and then you can just stay there for all the fuck I care, because we don't want you here in our towns is what it is, man. And that's what would happen, honestly. You'd have natural small towns like mine that would come together, and you would have roadblocks and stuff set up everywhere as it would be then. And it'd be like nobody in, nobody out, man. Fuck all y'all. So, anyway. That's pretty much where we're at for the day. I'll be back sometime on Tuesday with the final issue 1 stream and why people need to vote yes on issue 1, obviously, come Tuesday, which is basically my final thought here. If you live in the city of Ohio, vote yes on issue 1 come Tuesday. Because if you don't and you vote no, all you're doing is fucking the rest of us over, dude. And you're going to fuck this state over eventually. And don't be surprised when people like me decide, hey, fuck all y'all. We're just going to start suing entire counties in this state, honestly, that have major cities in them. And you're going to be the ones putting the bills for the lawsuits then, when we actually win those lawsuits, dude. You're going to be paying a bunch of taxpayer money to us in various court wins. So, anyway. Like I said, that's pretty much it for the day, though. Check out E Honda's channel later tonight. I assume we'll be doing the Gay Frogs chat here in like probably about 2.5 hours, give or take. So, that's where I'll be at as long as he sends me a link here in the next couple hours. And yeah, basically, other than that, it's been fun. I think America's had a good run for what we are as a country right now. And I think it's right now it's time to get back to being a constitutional republic again. And all the Democrat dipshits and leftists and fucking fence-sitting assholes in this country that want to sit here and keep falsely claiming we're a democracy can fuck off to another country is what it is, man. So, anyway. Till later. I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good night. And vote yes on issue 1 if you live in Ohio. Later.